Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome inside the Fan Cave. This is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call, where we talk to you, and all you have to do is call 412-575-2600. That is that hotline number. Bob Pompeani here, Andrew Fillipponi up at the Fan. But we were both at the Penguins game tonight and saw a very nice team game. Once again, they got off to kind of a slow start after their West Coast trip, but they came back and beat a good Vancouver team tonight, 5-1, Andrew. So they're 5-2 to start this season, and they're looking like a really good team, even though a lot of people didn't think they'd have that kind of start to this season.
I certainly didn't, and I have to eat crow on that. I mean, I'm still on the Gavin McKenna bandwagon, but the more this team plays like this, I'll have to do a 180 and flip-flop on it. At the moment, you're right. I mean, I look at the combination of young and old. I thought Evgeny Malkin and Evgeny Malkin and Erik Karlsson especially were two guys that were coming off dreadful seasons last year, and I think both have played pretty well through the early portions of this season. And then you throw in the young guys and Kindle and Brunick and what they bring from a youth movement standpoint, and I think that infusion, also a new message, a new direction from the head coach. I think they're getting a little bit of a bump from that, Bob, and yeah, so far so good. You're right, we were both there, and I thought the second period they played tonight was the best period, the best 20 minutes of hockey they've played all year. They dominated the ice, they tilted the ice, it translated into goals, and my daughter sent me a video message to share with you that I'll either be texting you or showing you tomorrow at the radio station.
Okay.
Because she was disappointed that it was so loud there that she could not hear you when you talked to her on FaceTime. So you have that to look forward to, I guess.
She stays up late, so that's good. That means she'll be a sports fan for sure. Yeah, you're right. Speaking of young people, those two kids, they're going to make a decision about 18-year-old Ben Kindle and 19-year-old Harrison Brunick. I thought Brunick made an excellent back check today, and it was a big one for him. He covers a lot of the ice. He's confident enough to pinch in. Sometimes I think it may be too much of that. You don't want the bad stuff about Karlsson and Letang to rub off on him, but there's a lot of good stuff too. I'm guessing at this point they're going to keep them both around and, play them and give them a night off here and there when they need it. But Kindle made some great plays for the second game in a row. He did not appear on the score sheet, at least I don't think he did, and he made some outstanding plays in both zones.
I would agree. Not only that, I think that third line is a legitimate line right now. Novak scored a goal, I think his first as a Penguin, because he got hurt shortly after that trade last year. And you talk to certain people in hockey, like the really analytically inclined people, and they loved the possession numbers that he brought over from Nashville. And there are a lot of people in hockey who believe he's one of the most underrated players in the entire sport. So he's healthy now. He showed up in more ways. He showed up on the obvious way tonight, the score sheet. But I think he potentially affects the game more than that. I thought their blue line was going to be arguably the worst in the NHL, and that was going to hurt their goaltending. And it hasn't thus far. And, Bob, I also give them credit because usually when the goaltender gives up a goal on the first shot and you're down 1-0 and you're coming back from a West Coast trip, the air can kind of come out of the building, and I think the air can come out of a team. And to their credit, they rebounded quickly, tied the game, and then it was an onslaught of goals after that. And I don't think Vancouver's a bad team.
No, I don't.
I think Vancouver might make the playoffs. I happen to like, I think, this is kind of a nerdy hockey take, but I think Quinn Hughes, he's tucked up there in Vancouver. He might be my favorite young player in the entire NHL. That guy is so much fun to watch. He's your true take it 200 feet of ice, can play any way as a defenseman, and that's a tough guy to neutralize because that guy single-handedly can control a game. The same way Paul Coffey would, the same way Erik Karlsson did back in his prime as a puck mover, and he didn't do much tonight. So I thought it was a fantastic win for the Penguins.
And they were playing without Brock Besser, but still they have three Pedersens, and what more could you want than
Thatcher
three Pedersens?
Demko didn't play. And two guys named Elias Pedersen, which is confusing.
It's very confusing.
There are two Sebastian Ahos, but in this situation, they're both on the same team, Bob.
Yeah, and both of the same names. How do you distinguish between? Got to give a little shout out there to Artur Shilovs, too, going against his old team, and they didn't have room for him there, but he's here. I think it was a shrewd move by Dubas to get him here. So far he's 3-1 with that win now. He's putting a little pressure on Jari, who's responded as well. So good goaltending takes you a long way. You see our KDKA.com Connect poll of the night. Would you rather see the Penguins do this or that? Tank for Gavin McKenna or win at all costs? I've said all along, I'm not a big tank fan. Ask those in Miami who are tanking for Tua. Andrew, when we come back, we're going to talk about also what the Baltimore Ravens did today, which is maybe an indication of where they are psychologically. We'll get into that. And Mike Tomlin had his press conference as well. A lot to digress and talk about there. We'll do it when we come back. It's 412-575-2600. We're live tonight on KDKA Plus and the award-winning 93.7 The Fan. They have a big award to talk about. We'll get into that as well next, right here on KDKA Plus. This is our Xfinity tweet of the night. Comes from Penguins PR, Jennifer Bolano, and this is what you have when you spend as many years in Pittsburgh in one place as Sidney Crosby has. And he now has surpassed Mario Lemieux, most points, regular season and playoffs, in the history of the Pittsburgh Penguins. And as he kiddingly said afterwards, yeah, but he did it 500 more games. So that tells you how good Mario Lemieux was. But he was outstanding, and there's no question about it. He still can play with the best of them in this league, even at his advanced age. So, Andrew, I want to get into talking about the Steelers a little bit because, and I left my phone on there, so sorry about that. You hear it? Won't stop. I don't know who's.
Yes, I do.
Should I
Bob.
look? No. Anyway, we'll get into Mike Tomlin first, but the Baltimore Ravens, 1-5 start. And it looks like they're going to have Jackson back for this week against the Bears because the point spread jumped. It was, I think last week was a little lower than this. Now it's jumped, so that has to indicate that. But I want to ask you what they did. They took their ping pong table away from the locker room. Apparently they're trying to get serious, but they're 1-5. Can they dig themselves out of this?
Well, I don't like that. I mean, to me, that makes it. Well, I do like that as a Steelers fan. I think it comes across as a team that's really desperate and, I think in a panic mode situation when they have to resort to, I think, silly things like that to try to get everybody back focused and locked in. If I were John Harbaugh, I would have come back from the bye and said, look, let's treat this like we're 0-0 and we're starting fresh with our season right now. Because if we go out and do that and have confidence in ourselves and win, we'll probably be okay. And I think I would have just shown a highlight reel of Lamar Jackson plays and sat down and said, let's get to work, because they're getting that guy back, presumably. That's why the line is what it is. And even though I'm not a Lamar Jackson fan in terms of big games, because he doesn't play well in them, I still think he's good enough to put that team on his back and win a lot of these games against bad teams, which is how their schedule is set up. They got a lot of their hard games out of the way, Bob, trips to Buffalo and Kansas City. So they still got to go to Green Bay and play the Steelers twice, and the Patriots. But outside of that, I think there's a lot of winnable games for the Ravens, but I do like seeing, as a Steelers fan, that they're freaking out a little bit there internally.
Yeah, I agree with you. They have the Dolphins coming up, the Jets coming up, but they also have Chicago at home this week. Chicago's a better team than most people think. We'll see how that goes. In the meantime, we got a lot of calls. Let's get right to them, beginning in Evansburg. Our number one Cochrane Go One Better caller of the night, and that would be Jen. Hello, Jen. How are you?
Hi, Jen.
Good. I'm very good. I just have a comment to tell you. I like to listen to the press conferences, whether it's Tuesdays or when he talks after the game. But I don't know if you guys realize, we can hear him respond to the reporters, but we cannot hear what the reporters are asking. So when he's talking about responding to Joe Blow or whoever, we don't know he's talking about Joe Blow.
I understand what you're saying, but it's hard to get microphones in a loud locker room in two directional places. So apologize for that. We'll try to work on it, but we try to bring you just what's going on in that locker room, and you never know what you're going to get. And Steelers did, get back to it yesterday. They were off today. Mike Tomlin spoke today. Tomorrow, you'll see more about it. It looks like Calvin Austin's going to be able to play, at least optimistically. They need him in this game coming up. But overall, I mean, they have, a lot of work to do based on what we saw in Cincinnati and how that game went, knowing that, first of all, they're going to have those two guys on the outside typically get targeted a lot, but I never thought that many times at 23 for Jamar Chase. But the run game, to me, was an even bigger story, how they generated that much against the Steeler defense, which had shut the run down for basically 2 games in a row, and then it went back to week 1 and week 2.
Yeah, look, I mean, the Steelers always talk about how priority number 1 is stopping the run, but in my personal opinion, I think they took it too far against Cincinnati, and I get it. They thought they were going to shut it down because Cincinnati stinks running the ball. And then in the second quarter, they went on big runs. And Mike Tomlin has talked about that now twice, both immediately after the game and then today at his press conference. However, they lost sight of probably one of the best players in all of football in Jamar Chase. And I didn't really like some of Mike Tomlin's explanations for things. For starters, Bob, let's get to Nick Herbig and talking about how stopping the run really kept Nick Herbig on the bench in this game. Well, what I don't understand about that answer is with 2 minutes left, you knew Joe Flacco was going to have to throw the ball. They didn't have time to run the ball. And yet, Herbig was on the bench for that sequence. It was Alex Highsmith who was in the game. And given how dynamic and explosive and dangerous Herbig has been as a pass rusher, he should have been in the game in those moments, my opinion.
I agree.
Because of how great he's been at getting to the quarterback. So I didn't get Mike and his answer on that today as far as, yeah, okay, we get it. You want to stop the run. But when Cincinnati needs to be one-dimensional, you need to have your best pass rushers out there, and you also cannot lose track of Jamar Chase the way that they did, where there's no one within 5 yards of him on that last catch that put them in field goal range.
Yeah, I mean, he was open quite a bit. They used a slant pattern to their advantage, and Nick Herbig has been their best player of late at that position, and that's saying something given who else is on that position, Highsmith and Watt. But we heard Terrell Austin last week talk about he's going to get more because of it, and yet he got less in this game. Back to the lines we go, and we will go this time to Dave in Monroeville. Dave joins us on the Sports Call. What's up?
Just a comment on last night's American League Championship Series Game 7.
Mm-hmm.
It was really cool to see IKF have the big hit in the seventh inning to set up Toronto for the George Springer's 3-run home run.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it was, they were looking for a double play. After Brian Wu came in and walked the first batter, which is never a good thing, when you're up only by 2 runs, you don't want to give them anything. And then a ground ball, which could have been a double play, went up the middle. They make a pitching change, and then boom. Springer has been so good. It's unbelievable what he does in the postseason. I think it's 22 home runs now, Andrew. Yep. And this year, a monster year, 32 home runs. He hit over 300, I believe. That's going to be an interesting series, but I don't. If I'm them, they start at home, but man, that Dodger team is coming off an amazing series. So I hope Toronto wins. I want to see them win this thing. Do you think they can?
I wouldn't say that they're completely out of it. I mean, to go way, way back in time, back when people really paid attention to baseball and the Pirates were good. I remember in 1990 when the A's were playing the Reds after the Reds beat the Pirates, and everybody said the A's were going to win in 4. Because they had just won the World Series and they looked like they were by far the best team in baseball, and they ended up getting swept in that series by the Reds. So we've seen things like that happen. I don't think it will. I would predict the Dodgers. But to respond to what the caller said, I don't find those things cool. I mean, I'm happy for IKF that he gets, new life with a contending team and not a last-place team. But it gets old as a Pirates fan to watch these guys leave this organization and go on and perform in October and to do better things. And we've seen it for decades, and I'm tired of it. I don't get excited for those guys. I get angry that these players leave and they seem to latch on with teams and find more success.
Yeah, that's been a recurring theme over and over here, so we'll see how it goes. One more call before we go to break, and that would be Jeff in South Park. Hello, Jeff. Welcome to the program. Go right ahead.
Hi, Jeff.
Hey, I heard about the Marconi. Congratulations on all your success at the radio station.
Yeah, let me interrupt you. Stay on the line, Jeff, because that's an important thing. Marconi Award given out to big stations all across the country. It's unusual, I think, in following this, that a sports station like KDKA-FM, 93.7 The Fan would win. That's a big award, so congrats to everyone at 93.7 The Fan, Andrew.
And to you, Bob, it's not a coincidence that you've been full-time for 1 year, and in that 1 year we win the Marconi Award. Well, I just want to point that out.
Full-time but part-time pomp, you know what I mean. Let's go. Jeff, go ahead.
I believed in you guys from the very beginning. Anyways, what's that quote from The Wire that applies to the Pens? Get the word out, we back, or whatever it is. I just want to say that I think all the talk in the preseason about how they were just horrible on paper was overblown, because I really only look at one position group where that was true, and that was the left side of the D. Yeah, Jari as your number one is not ideal, but this forward group is not bad at all. And if they get lucky with the goaltending, I'm not talking about Jari, but Shilovs, and then if they bring Miroshov up at the right time, who knows? Because, like I said, forward group is not bad, and you can fix the lead rather easily if they're in it around the deadline.
Well, Jeff, they got a good test coming up now Thursday. It'll be the Florida Panthers, the defending Stanley Cup champs. And we'll see what they can do. But I agree with you. And to me, the whole thing is goaltending. If you get good goaltending, you're going to be in games. Washington, when they went on their little start last year, they got superior goaltending to start. Carberry's new coach is sort of similar. I don't know if I predict it's going to go the same way, but if you can get into the playoffs, I keep saying all along, Andrew, I want to see Crosby and those guys one more time in the playoffs.
So do I. Yeah, Sid deserves it, and obviously what a great honor and accomplishment for him to pass Mario tonight, as you touched on to start this segment. One thing, and we were both at the game, that I thought was huge in this game tonight, Vancouver's dominating the first period. Evander Kane gets a breakaway, and it's one of the few kind of defensive breakdowns by the Penguins all year, and he's one-on-one with Shilovs, and he makes the save. And, I thought to myself, if the Penguins come back and win this game, if Bob is going to bring this game up, make sure you mention that play.
Yeah.
Because I did think that was a momentum-changing game in the play. You give up a goal there, and maybe, you start to slump your shoulders and think tonight's not your night. Exactly.
All right, we're going to go to a break. We'll take it. Come back with more right here on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call, KDK Plus and 93.7 The Fan. All right, before we go, Pony, give me a quick prediction about Green Bay, Pittsburgh. It's Sunday night. They do much better than they do on Thursday nights. Do you think the Steelers will rebound?
Well, I have great news for Steelers fans because I think the Packers are going to win this game. And I look at the Packers, and I just see a vastly superior team right now. One of the reasons why I thought the Steelers lost to the Seahawks was because of how good the Seahawks defensive front is, Bob. And I see the same things with Micah Parsons in that Packers front seven.
Yeah, they come after you pretty good, and especially he's coming off a 3-sack performance against Arizona, so he's getting it going over there. Pony, thanks as always. Appreciate it. Congrats on the nice
Bob.
award for the station.
Yep, see you
and
tomorrow.
I'll see you tomorrow. You can show me Stella's FaceTime. That's going to do it for us. Thanks for joining us. We'll do it again tomorrow night and every night. We're here 7 nights a week, so call us at 412-575-2600. Have a good night, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow.